welcome to the Football Fun Factory podcast. I have no idea what episode it is because we've done so many. We're going to spin the spinner to find out who is going to be the judge in the judge's seat this week. What a spin. For those that don't know, whoever it lands on... it's rolled back. It did land on me.
Yeah,
it rolled back. Great little bit of backspin. Andy Murray-esque drop shot. And
Come
it's
on,
Johnny Martin in the hot seat.
Let's go. Guys, I'm making a big decision here. I know the viewers absolutely love it, but I'm going to get rid of the wig.
No, put it on, John.
And I'm going to get rid of the gown.
You're not the judge now.
I
I'm not
refuse
playing.
to participate.
I'm still a judge, because I've got my little hammer.
It's broken.
Don't worry about it, it works, it's fine. Cool, so what we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel of questions, fortuitous questions, and then we're going to see what it lands on, and then we're going to go head to head. Let's go.
A little spin.
Tiny spin for me. The best thing about coaching. So have a little think, and then I'm going to go to James Cutting first. But before I do, I'm just going to remind the listeners and viewers what this is all about. So we have 3 rounds where we go head to head, each answering the questions, and I will be the judge and see which questions or which answers I like the most. James, you're up. The best thing about coaching. Shoot.
For me, it's impact. So that word summarises a number of things. So the impact that you can make on a child's life. The impact that football coaching can make for you personally as well. So I think for me in my life, football coaching has been the catalyst really for the journey that I've been on to get to where I am today. And the passion that I have for football enables me to make a really big impact for many, many people. So I love to see the smiles on the kids' faces, love to see the impact that it makes on their lives, love to see them being shaped into better human beings. Of course, there's the impact of making a child better at football as well, and the positive impact that brings on their lives. You know, children that go on to become professional footballers, we've all got experience with that, and become fantastic young people. So in summary, the impact that you can make for many, many people for many different reasons is, for me, the best thing about coaching football.
Spoken from the heart. Very good.
It's a good answer, really good answer. It's a massive word impact as well. It sort of covers off a lot of
5,
things.
6 letters? Yeah.
But not in length in terms of how long it is.
You're not going to win countdown with that, Luke.
Word. Sorry?
Not going to win countdown with that.
I don't know. 6. I've seen it one before on countdown.
Answer the question,
I'm
Luke.
trying to buy a bit of time. Trying to buy a little bit more time. I think for me it's seeing human development. I think as a football coach. Human.
Did sound a little bit like you said Tuman, but carry on.
But maybe after my turmeric shot this morning.
Nice.
That's on my head. Let's get that in there. A little plug for the turmeric company.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing human development, I think as a coach, particularly with young players, like seeing them develop as people more than anything else. I think football's got a huge power. I think in my time as a professional footballer working as a coach within a professional football club, it was all about sort of developing footballers as a player, developing as a footballer, winning games at the weekend. But I think when you step away from that and sort of working within the Football Fun Factory and seeing the impact that you can have, using your word there, James, but the impact you can have on people. Thank you, I appreciate that. That for me, that's the biggest thing. Like it's not always about just developing in football, but then social elements that you get in the game and bringing people together, groups of people, families, the parents, the children, the carers of the children. For me, that is the best thing about being a football coach.
Nice. Very good answer again. I think it's quite hard to disagree with each other's answers because, let's face it, they're both right in their own right. So instead, I'm going to mix it up a little bit.
Ooh.
Rather than you grilling James, because I think your answers are quite similar. James, I want you to try and explain why you think your word is more impactful than Luke's.
My word's a real word because Tuman isn't.
Good point, well made.
I was picked up on it and I corrected myself. So,
but child development, human development on a personal level is one of the impacts that football can make. So in simple terms, I just feel that the impact that you have as a football coach, and that the reason that's the best thing in football coaching is that you can develop people as young people, you can help them grow into brilliant young adults and take those things forward with them throughout their lives, but there's many other benefits in addition. So I completely agree in terms of the child development side of things. It's really interesting how thoughts change over time, because I don't think any of us would have said that at 21 years old or or even 5 years ago or whatever. I don't think we would have said that the impact that we make on a child's life. It's just that as you mature and as you coach for a longer time and as you grow programs and see that impact, it really is compelling. So the only reason I think that impact is a bigger thing than the child development for the kids within the sessions that you coach is just that impact goes far beyond child development, and therefore for me outranks it.
Nice. So James has gone for more of an umbrella approach.
Yeah.
Luke, why do you think your specific answer of child development trumps James Cutting's umbrella?
Exactly that, really, Johnny. Mine is specific, James. But like what you say is completely right, but it sort of covers off everything in terms of what you're talking about.
That is my strategy.
That's what I mean.
I've heard enough.
Oh, thanks.
For me, I agree with both. However, I'm a big fan of the umbrella approach.
Obviously, yeah.
The catch-all. So James Cutting, congratulations, you've won round
Thank you.
one.
Cue Umbrella by Rihanna.
Under my umbrella.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's spin it again.
That is a tiny
Another little
spin.
spin.
Ollie's written this one. It's terrible handwriting.
What celebrity, in brackets, non-football, would make a great Football Fun Factory head coach? What celebrity, in brackets, non-football, would make a great Football Fun Factory head coach? Interesting. Luke Chadwick.
Oh, God.
Shoot.
It's the hardest question.
It's a really tough one.
It's easy.
Oh, God, I'm on the spot. I can't really. What celebrity? Oh, my God, it's so on the tip of my tongue. I can't.
Say it.
I am going to go for Robbie Williams.
Cool, before you elaborate on Robbie Williams, James, who's your celebrity?
I need to hear more from Luke.
Go, because I want to try and
Stephen
catch on.
Merchant.
Oh, okay. Right. Luke Chadwick, Robbie Williams, explain why. Go.
Role model.
Fantastic singer-songwriter. Watch his documentary and watch the journey that he'd gone on sort of as a human being. And like
The documentary where he's played by a monkey.
No, the other one that's on Netflix.
Yeah, one about all the drugs and
And he's
stuff.
just that journey that he's gone from from the depths of despair into the person that he is today. To be completely honest with you, the name just came into my head and I just said it. And he sings my most favourite song, Angels, my go-to song on karaoke. So without a doubt, I think Robbie Williams would be.
I think we've got some footage that we can overlay at that point.
Yeah,
of
from
some
Spain,
karaoke song. Yeah,
so we can put that on and
yeah. Fill a couple of minutes in the
James,
podcast.
Stephen Merchant.
Stephen Merchant, quite a tall fella, quite good at putting the goals up. Stephen Merchant is just really funny. I don't know why. I should have thought about. I was trying to think of comedians that are suitable for children, really, and I think that Stephen Merchant is probably one of the more mellow comedians, kind of like a lot of visual humour. I think he's just a really engaging, funny character, and I think kids would love a session delivered by Stephen Merchant. I can just imagine Stephen inside our inflatable football pitch. The reason I picked Stephen Merchant is that my first thought, for no reason whatsoever, was Barry from EastEnders. And it just made me think of extras, and then I landed on Stephen Merchant in an absolute blind panic. But I think any comedian would be a really good football coach, especially at Football Fun Factory, because the ability to make children laugh, I think, is a really, really good one. Lee Evans would have been a better answer if I had a bit more time.
Robbie Williams can trump Stephen Merchant on?
I think, no disrespect to Stephen, fantastic writer of sitcoms, really good at acting. But I think Robbie Williams is a megastar, a world megastar who, like, the parents and mums in particular would love to take their child to a session delivered by Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Like, such a...
Right, I think I've heard enough. Ultimately, James won the first round. Luke, whatever you said, sort of had to win the second round. So Robbie Williams is the winner of that round, and Luke Chadwick, aka Robbie Williams. But let's move on as swiftly as possible.
Let's move on.
Another little spin. And the third and final question is the hardest moment in your coaching journey today. So for the viewers and listeners at home, the hardest moment in your coaching journey today, James Cutting.
Probably one that nobody really knew about at the time. So the journey that we've been on at Football Fun Factory is that started a football coaching business and turned it into a franchise. Of course, Johnny Yu then came on board. We franchised across the country. And the organisation, thanks to Luke's hard work, recruiting new head coaches and franchisees, grew really quickly, which meant that it wasn't possible to be both a football coach, a head coach, and deliver the sessions and also run the overall business. The running of the overall business took over very quickly, and it became way more than a full-time job to do just that, and therefore had to step back from coaching the sessions. And I remember specifically the last session that I did, and it was a bit of a moment, really. It was a great moment because it was then the opportunity to drive the organisation even quicker, find more coaches, open new communities, and all the great stuff that we've gone on to do. We've now got close to 1,000 football sessions all over the country. But to do that, it meant me stopping coaching football. And I knew at the time I was delivering my last session in Red Lodge, having been on a real journey over the course of a few years. And then obviously communicated that to all the parents and things. So that was quite a difficult moment for me.
Nice. Thanks very much, James, for sharing. Luke Chadwick, your hardest moment in your coaching journey?
I think it would definitely be while working within professional football, releasing players from the academy. I don't think any specific one, just all of them in general. It was always like really hard to deliver that news, but probably more understanding the impact that was going to have on the child, their family. When you were saying that, I think like it's something that never really sat right with me, particularly in the younger age groups where you have no idea what these kids are going to develop into, what they're going to do, and sort of making that decision and knowing that that's going to affect them badly, and sort of not knowing what to do after that, because you want to be able to support them, but at the same time they're not that interested in your support because you're the person that's just delivered that news to them. And as the industry in general, I don't think does enough to support those children in essence that are being released. They've been at the club for X amount of years, sort of dedicated a large amount of their life to it, as their family members, parents have as well, and sort of to end that journey, like it never got any easier. But regardless of how it felt for me, how you're making other people feel was something that'll always sit with me, and I'll always remember them times as incredibly sort of challenging for what impact a negative impact that you're having on somebody else, really.
Cool, very good. I've unfortunately experienced both of those things. Obviously, James, when I joined the Football Fun Factory, we went on running our own franchise to start off with, and then sort of stepping away from that. So I've experienced that as well. And obviously, Luke, during my time at Cambridge, had to release players, which I agree was a horrible, horrible experience. So James, tell us a little bit more, and Luke, I want you to sort of quiz James on that experience that you had. But how did you feel in that session, and at the end of that session, what was the main sort of overriding feeling that you had?
Probably pride in kind of what had been achieved over that period. The village, Red Lodge, tiny little area, and hundreds of kids were playing, participating. But probably the biggest pride was actually who I was handing it over to. So one of our head coaches, Kyle, has then gone on to take it on to the next level and do an amazing job. And I've actually known Kyle since he was 16 years old as a young apprentice football coach, and to see him then kind of step into my shoes and take that on and then take it on to the next level felt a huge sense of pride in that. So whilst it is one of the hardest moments, it is a bit of a bittersweet moment really as well, where got to see someone really flourish and be given an opportunity to kick on from there.
Yeah, I think obviously tough. You've been a coach for so many years, absolutely loved doing it, and then sort of having to stop that to grow the business further. I think like when you talk about it, and it's obviously a hard moment for you personally, but the other feelings that you got, you use the word pride, you can hear the pride when you're talking about it, which makes me think what I'm talking about is harder and I should win the point.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think, yeah, that it was a mixture of emotions, but if we're focusing on the hardest moment, I don't think the positive side of it should come into the equation. I think she should judge solely on the...
But we've probably spoke more about the positive side of it in the last 90 to 95 seconds.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine.
James, have you got any questions for Luke?
Yeah, releasing players, really, really tough, really horrible. The hardest moment. I'd say it's harder for the children, isn't it, than the actual the person delivering it. Obviously, it's very difficult to sit down with a child and their parents and release them, but a few minutes of hardship for you, but potentially weeks and months of hardship for the child. So, my biggest thing would just be that you're just there pulling the plaster off effectively. You're then the next day, moving on to the next thing, and maybe someone else signs a contract the next day and you're able to deliver some great news. So I think that the hardest bit there is for the kid rather than the coach.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, but understand, like, as a human to a human delivering that, I think just the hardest thing is knowing how you're making that person feel, as it were, without a shadow of a doubt. It's much, much harder for the child, their family to hear that news, but understanding that you're the one that's making them feel like that, in essence, you're the one that's giving that news. I think it isn't just that few minutes. I think it stays with you, but again, it stays with you because you know how you're making people feel.
Cool. Well, it's gone from Robbie Williams and Stephen Merchant to
what
a very
swing of emotions,
hard-hitting finish to the courtroom here. I think I've thought about it. I've weighed up both sides of the argument. I've experienced both, so I know that feeling in both moments. I think, as you said, James, although that is a really difficult moment, there is a lot of positives that come from that moment. The fact that you see someone step into your shoes, that you know that it's going to take it on to the next level. You talk about impact in the first round, the impact that you can then go on to make. So it is a bit of a weird moment, that, like sort of stepping away from your last session. But having released a number of children, I think that feeling is without doubt one of the worst as a football coach. Having to say no and turn away children from the opportunity to play football is just horrible in every sense. So congratulations, Luke Chadwick. I think that's the first time ever I've let Luke win in the judges' court.
Do you know what? I'm glad you won that one, because I just think releasing children from professional football clubs at 8-9 years old, I just think is a travesty. And
I think it's a big reason why we're probably sat here in 100%. Some ways, isn't it? Where it's sort of something that doesn't sit right with me. You understand as they get older, and that's at them youngest ages, it makes no sense.
So many stories as well of kids that have been in an academy, been released, and then stopped playing football altogether, even at a really young age. Yeah. Just one quick question, if we've got time, Judge.
We've got time.
Did either of you ever receive any training in? Obviously, it's a really difficult thing to do, kind of difficult conversation to have. Just wondered if you ever received any training for how to have that conversation, what to say, how to approach it, or was it just a case of you need to sit down with this 9-year-old and their parents and tell them they're not an academy footballer anymore?
Yeah, no, and I think that's where more needs to be done, both with inside football clubs in how to deliver that news. And I'm sure things have moved forward since, I mean, it was a number of years ago now where we were working in that environment. But I think it's the aftercare after that that's so important, which probably needs to come from somewhere else, because once you've been given that sort of heartbreaking news, you probably don't always want help from the people that have delivered that. But I think no training was given. It was just a case of sit down and try and deliver what you've been told to say as empathetically as possible and sort of deal with it that way. But it's something that still doesn't sit right with me in how it was done then. As I say, I'm not privy to know what it's like now.
It doesn't get easier though, is it? Like, I didn't receive any training, and like after you do it a couple of times, if anything, it gets worse, because you've seen the impact, the negative impact that it made and makes on the children that you've then released. To then think you've got to do it again. It's not even like over time you learn how to do it and pitch it better, because it's just always so horrible.
I think one of the biggest things as well is that if you knew 100% that the news you were delivering was the right thing for the child, it'd make it maybe a bit easier. But there's every chance that 10-year-old that's getting released may have been a decision that's made by someone else, and there's every chance that 10-year-old goes on to become a professional footballer.
To be fair, there was one example where there was one lad who was visibly like upset and struggling in games, like put a lot of pressure on himself. He knew it was like really uncomfortable for him, but even that conversation was still horrible, even though I had complete and utter confidence that it was the right thing for the child, for their family, because he was just going through it every single game, every single training session. He was like becoming less of the kid that he was, because he was putting so much pressure on himself. But even that was like horrible. There's almost like just horrible. There's no good that comes from it, really.
Why don't we get back to something more positive?
Good idea.
Maybe we could base the Chaddy's quickfire questions around like different celebrities that could be football coaches.
That's a great idea.
I would love to know much more about that.
Let's go to that question.
Yeah, no, but build some questions around it.
Let's go to everyone's favourite part of the podcast, quickfire Chaddy's questions. Little question, Luke, for little Lukey Chadwick. Word on the street is that somebody has a big book coming out.
Well, thank you for that question, Johnny. It's much appreciated. Yeah, that's right. On the 12th of May, I will be releasing Not Just a Pretty Face by Luke Chadwick. It is an incredible read. I really suggest people go out and pre-order it, to avoid disappointment, but It is a no-holds-bar. If I had to describe it, it'd be a cross between the mystery and charm of James Bond and the magic of Harry Potter. It is an incredible book. Please, please, please go and buy it. But yeah, really pleased. Got the book coming out. Been working on it for a couple of years now, so it's exciting.
Nice, very exciting.
Released 12th of May.
My question be about the book. Tell us a bit more about it. What can people expect?
What more do you need? It's a cross between Harry Potter and
I
James
just thought it was a
Bond.
little bit cryptic.
No. So in all seriousness, it is a sort of an honest account of my journey in football, in professional football, growing up at Manchester United, going on to play for a number of other clubs, detailing the sort of the real successes, the real challenges, and it's quite interesting sort of writing it, quite therapeutic in a way, sort of talking through all the years in football. But it is an autobiography, an honest account of a journeyman's career in professional football.
Very interesting. I look forward to reading it.
Thank you very much. It's available on all good bookshops.
Cool, well, thanks very much for that. Great little plug at the end for Luke Chadwick.
Thank you.
If you are listening, if you are watching, make sure you go and order it. 12th of May?
12th of May.
12th of May, Not Just a Pretty Face. And then we'll see you all next time for another Football Fun Factory podcast.